Tangents and normals are another application of our derivative. So this is directly linked to computation of the slopes of the line. We have a problem. Find the slope of the curve y equals 4x squared minus 3x minus 1 at point -2, 6. So if we are to draw a rough sketch of this x squared minus 3 minus 1, that's a parabola. Okay, let's say ganito siya. Ayan siya. And this parabola here has different slopes kasi depende on what point ka nakatingin. So let's say ang slope niya dito at the lowest point is depende kung ano yung tangent line na nakadraw. At the lowest point, the tangent line here is a horizontal line. So kukunan mo siya ngayon ng slope. Ayan. Kung nandito ka naman sa point na to, ang tangent line mo is ito. So dyan magbabase sa tangent line na yan yung magiging slope of the line mo. Kasi when we talk about slope, the basic way of getting our slope, diba? It is our rise over run. Yan, rise over run. And if we are to magnify this portion here, magnify ko siya dito, yan, ito yung curve natin, ito yung point, ito yung magiging tangent line niya. And if kukunin mo yung, teka lang, it's not a tangent line as drawn. Ayan. Kunin mo yung tangent line. Yan yung line na magpapass through that point alone. Ano ba yan? Ang drawing natin. Okay. Ayan. To that point alone lang siya magpapass. And then kung ima-magnify ko siya, itong drawing na yan, ito yung magiging slope natin. Kung rise over run yan, generally that is the change in y mo over the change in x. And if you're talking about differentials kasi, we're talking about infinitesimal na mga quantity. So very small quantity, itong nandito na makikita mo, which is magnified by this portion here. Which is, if that is very small, we can have it as a differential y na denotation. And if x is also very small, that's a differential x. So basically, your slope would be your dy over dx. Okay? Etong line na to, tawag natin dito, this is our tangent line kasi tangent siya at that point. And consequently, the one that is perpendicular to that, ito, we call this our normal line naman. Okay, this is tangent. And what we need to remember lang about tangents and normals ay ang kanilang slope. No? The slope of your tangent line is ito yun, dy over dx yun siya, which is our y prime, is actually, ano yan siya, reciprocal, no, lagay ko na lang dito. If this is y prime, the slope of your normal line naman would be the negative reciprocal of the slope of the tangent line. So that is negative reciprocal of your y prime. Okay? So, yan ang mga principles ang kailangan natin tandaan for the computation of problems about tangents and normals. Basic principles lang siya. So, going back to our problem here, ano daw ang magiging slope of the curve at that certain point? Again, specific ang point na to because the slope changes with respect to the point kung saan ka nakatingin ngayon sa curve. No? Dito yung point na to, iba yung slope. Ang point na to, iba yung magiging slope. Ang point na to, iba yung magiging slope. Okay? So, since na-mention ko kanina, slope is dy over dx or y prime, what you need to get there is your y prime directly. So, if ang y mo is 4x squared minus 3x minus 1, then your y prime would be 8x minus 3. Tama? To get the actual value of that, we need to get this at x is equal to negative 2. Negative 2 tayo kasi negative 2, 6 ang binigay na point sa atin. So, y prime natin is 8 times negative 2 minus 3. That would be negative 16 minus 3 would give us negative 19. So, very steep ang ating line at that point of the graph. No? This is negative 19. Rise of 19 kada run ng 1. Negative 19 na slope. So that would be all for this problem. Okay, find the equation of the tangent to the curve y equals x cubed minus x at a point where x is equal to 1. So, we are asked to get the equation of the line this time. Not just the slope, but the equation of the line. Pero ganun din yun, di ba? For us to be able to get the equation of a line, okay, makukuha mo yan if you have these two values. You have the slope, okay, and dapat meron kang isang point. Slope and 1 point. Okay? O, ganun lang ka-easy. Paano ba natin kukunin ang slope of the tangent? We did that with our previous problem, which is, sabi na ang slope natin is equal to y prime, or that's equal to dy over dx. Given that y is our equation, y x cubed minus x, kunin natin ngayon si y prime. That would be 3x squared minus 1. At x na binigay niya, at x equals 1, at that certain value of x, we need to get the exact value of y prime. 3 times 1 squared minus 1 is equal to, 1 squared is 1 times 3, that's 3, minus 1 is 2. So, slope of the tangent natin is equal to 2. Okay? Slope of the tangent line. Now, we have the slope. We need 1 point to finish up the solution of this problem. Okay? 1 point, the first given, now let's say that's a cubic function. I'm not sure how that goes, or let's just say like this. So, if ito yung hinahanap sa atin na point, let me define this as y is equal to x cubed minus x. Itong point na to is at x is equal to 1. Okay, slope of this tangent line, we have computed that already as 2. And if you are to get the coordinate of this point, ang major misconception dito is, nalilito yung mga estudyante, if itong x na to, isa-substitute mo ba dito kay y prime to get the value of y? Or isa-substitute mo dito kay y? And obviously, dito mo dapat siya kay y sinasubstitute, no? Kasi for every value of x, the corresponding value of y is defined by this equation here. Kaya nga siya yung definition of the curve. And if that point is on the curve, at x value equal to 1, you should get a y value of 1 cubed minus 1. So, y therefore is equal to 0. So, you have slope of 2 and a point of consideration with abscissa 1 and ordinate 0. Now, you can get your equation of the line using the formula of one point and slope na equation of the line. 1 minus y sub 1 times the slope of the tangent line, x minus x sub 1. Ayan na, tapos na yung ingay. Pasensya na kayo, guys. Okay, so this is y minus y sub 1 natin is 0 is equal to the slope of 2. X natin is x. X sub 1 naman natin is 1. Simplify lang natin siya. This would be y is equal to 2x minus 2. So, pwede nang ganito yung sagot. So, kung may choices, tingnan mo na lang, no, kung anong form. This is the slope-intercept form. Okay? Slope-intercept form. And that's the equation of the tangent. Okay? Kung equation of the normal naman ang hinanap, the same pa din, no? Ito yung point. Magbabago lang yung magiging slope mo. What you will use as slope naman for equation of the normal is magiging negative 1/2 na siya. Okay? So, this one is equation of the tangent. And for this problem, find the equation of the line with slope equal to 1 and normal to the curve x squared plus 3xy plus y squared equals 5 at P sub O with coordinates x sub O, y sub O at x sub O equal to 1. Okay? Ang dami niyang sinabi sa problem. Ito, baka malito kayo kung anong gustong kunin ng problem. Is it the tangent line or the normal line or whatsoever. Okay? So, para dahan-dahanin natin siya, you need to sketch the curve. Now, let's just say ito yung curve natin. this is an arbitrary lang na sketch niya. So, let's say this is defined by x squared plus 3xy plus y squared is equal to 5. And then, we are to find a line. And that line daw has a slope equal to 1. So, let me write it here. Slope of that line is equal to 1. And that line should be normal to the curve. So, normal to the curve siya. Let me draw that line. This is M normal. Okay, let's say this point here is at XO, YO na coordinate. No? So, normal line itong hinahanap natin. And that normal line has a slope of 1. Ito yon. Okay? So, now, if I am to draw the tangent line here, ganito yung magiging itsura ni tangent line, no? Tangent at this point here. Can we get what is M tangent? If M normal is 1, what is M tangent? Diba? Negative reciprocal nila ang isa't isa. So that this would be negative 1. I hope agree kayo na negative 1 ang slope na yan. Okay? So, diba, ang alam lang natin when computing derivatives, using derivatives and getting the slope of the line, what we really know is ang tangent line na slope, equal yan kay y prime. Equal yan sa dy over dx natin. Right? Okay? And if that is so, can I say that kunin ko si y prime and that y prime should be equal to negative 1? Yes, because of this equation na nilagay natin dyan. Now, we have this function x squared 3xy plus y squared equals 5y. This is an we need to apply implicit differentiation here. So we have here 2x, okay, with respect to x tayong nagde-differentiate, so that's 2x plus ito is 3x, ibahin natin siya para tayong mag-aano dito, multiplication. So, 3x tsaka y ang ating dalawang i-multiply. So, u dv plus v du yun, di ba? Meron tayong 3x y prime plus yung y yung isa, di ba? v du, y times 3. Y times 3. Derivative ng 3x is 3 kasi. Plus 2y, y prime. Derivative of a constant 5 is 0. So, i-arrange lang natin ngayon yung may mga y prime on the left side and yung wala, transfer natin on the right side. So, this would be 3x plus 2y. 3x plus 2y. Y prime ang common sa kanila. Transfer ko ang negative 3y on the other side. Okay? And ang negative 2x also. Nasa other side na siya this time. Okay, now divide natin siya ngayon to isolate our y prime. This would be negative 3y minus 2x over, unahin natin siguro yung unahin natin yung x para mas maganda tingnan. 2x minus 3y, and this would be 3x plus 2y. And since this is the slope of the tangent, that should be equal to the slope of the tangent din natin sa problem natin, which we have already identified kanina as negative 1. So, given that, we have to cross-multiply it this time. That's negative 2x minus 3y is equal to negative 3x minus 2y. Cross multiplication. Moving this onto the other side, this would be negative, or this would be x. Negative 2x plus 3x would be x. And negative 2y plus 3y would be, what is this? Y. Right? This should be y. Okay. So, from this one, we can have it as the x sub o equal to the y sub o. Kasi, y sub o yung gagamitin nating value of x. Okay? So, that means, if y sub o magiging value ng ating x, And that is given as 1. Ay, if 1 ang magiging value ng ating x sub o, that is given as, ayun na nga, 1 man siya, diba? So, therefore, if x sub o is equal to y sub o, then y sub o is equal to 1 as well. So, our point of concern here is 1, 1. That is your x sub o, y sub o, and that is your point of tangency. Palitan ko dito ha, this would be 1, 1. Ayan siya. Okay? So, yan. What we need to do is, baka meron kayong question, ma'am, is this the only way that we're going to compute for the value of the point of concern? Kasi, di ba, pag nagko-compute tayo ng equation of the line, parating, ang kailangan mo lang naman is a slope and 1 point. Kaya, yun ang ginawa natin kanina. Kasi yung slope is identified na at the beginning of our problem. Kaya tayo nagko-compute ng point of concern. So, maybe you're asking, ma'am, could I substitute directly na lang the value of x sub o dito sa equation na to? Kasi, di ba, ma'am, si x sub o na to is part of that equation, is on that equation. So, basically, I can also compute y sub o using that equation, which is correct pa rin, no? Sulat ko dito, x squared plus 3xy plus y squared is equal to 5. At x sub o tayo equal to 1. Okay? So, lagay ko si 1 dito. That's 1 squared is 1 pa rin. 3 times 1. Missing is y sub o. This one is y sub o squared is equal to 5. Alright? And we have here, unahin ko si y sub o pagsulat. We have y sub o squared plus 3 y sub o plus 1 equal to 5. Simplifying that, y sub o plus 3y sub o, y sub o squared plus 3y sub o minus 4 equal to 0. By concept ng factoring, you can have it as y sub o minus 1 and y sub o plus 4 equal to 0. You will get two values of y sub o. You have 1 and you have y sub o na negative 4. So, dalawa pala ang magiging value ng y if you have an x sub o value of 1. Okay? So, kung itong method kasi yung gagawin mo, which is correct pa rin naman, ayan, baka malito ka which answer or which y ang gagamitin mo. Diba? Kasi dalawa yung makukuha mong sagot dito, no? But with this type of solution kasi, no, we're using the concept of derivative kaagad, isang point lang yung directly na ibibigay niya sa'yo, which is itong point na to. Okay? Sana clear yun sa inyo, no? This is a more specific kasi na solution na ating pwedeng gamitin using the y prime is equal to slope of the tangent. So, given this is as our tangent point and the point kung saan perpendicular yung normal line natin, we can now compute our equation of the normal line. Okay? Let me erase this part here to complete our solution. We have a slope and we have 1 point. We can get our equation. That is y minus y sub 1 equals m. This time, normal line ang kinocompute natin. We are getting the m of the normal line. Okay? X minus x sub o. Sub o kasi yung given. So, this would be y. Y sub o natin is 1. M of the normal line is 1. X minus x sub o, 1. So, that would be 1. Y minus 1. X minus 1. Moving this 1 onto the other side, this would be x. Y is equal to x. Y is equal to x. This is the equation of the normal line. And that is our final answer. Alright, so basic principles lang kailangan mong tandaan when we talk about tangents and normals. Now, let's talk about critical points and points of inflections to answer this one problem that we have. So, ayan, when we graph our functions kasi, for a while, pag mag-graph tayo ng functions natin, let's say this one is our function, okay, meron tayong mga tinatawag na critical points, no, to parang mabilisang ipaliwanag siya sa inyo. Critical points natin are the points kung saan maximum and minimum yung mga graphs natin. So, yan yung ginagawa natin when we compute our maxima and minima. Okay, maximum and minimum values natin. And kung somehow related siya sa ating optimization problem, kasi diba, kinukuha natin yung maxima and minima dyan. So, if you can recall sa mga optimization topics, for us to get our maximum and minimum, we need to get our y prime and to set that value to 0. So basically, we can get our critical points when we compute for our y prime or the slope of the curve natin and iset natin yan equal to 0. You will get x values there and that will be your x coordinate for your critical points. For our point of inflection naman, no, this one is a CP, this one is a CP. Point of inflection naman is most likely nandito siya sa may gitna. No, not necessarily sa gitna, basta andito sa may portion na yan. It is a point kung saan, no, inflection point, taka lang ha, maxima and minima. Inflection points naman natin, we can get that by setting y double prime, the second derivative of the curve, into equal to 0. And inflection points natin, they signify a change in concavity of the curve. Okay, so halimbawa, tinanong sa'yo, on what point will the curve change in its concavity? So meaning, ito kasi no, concave downward yung curve natin dito. Pero sa inflection point na to, it changes from a concave downward to a concave upward na. Kaya nga siya tinatawag na inflection point. Okay? Doon siya nag-change ng kanyang curvature. Alright? So simply saying again, critical points, you can compute that by getting your y prime, setting that to 0. And inflection points naman, y double prime, setting that equal to 0. So for this problem, we have this curve. Pinapahanap sa atin si critical points and points of inflection. So we have, for CP muna, we get our y prime, that is 3x squared minus 10x minus 36. And that should be equal to 0. Okay? So kailangan natin kunin ano ang magiging value ng x dito. And if you don't know how to factor that one, wala kang calculator, balik na lang tayo sa ating basic na equation of ang tawag nito quadratic equation. Okay? So this is negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. This one is a, 3, b is negative 10, and c is negative 36. So this would be negative of negative 10. That would be positive 10 already. Plus or minus. Okay. B squared natin is 100. Minus 4. A is 3. C is negative 36. Divided by 2a. That's 2 times 3. So that x this time would be how much? 10 plus minus the square root of, how much will this be? Let's try calculating. 100 minus 4 times 3 times negative 36. That gives us 532. Okay? 532. Times 6. So 532, this is 10 plus minus 532 is 4 times 133. And 133 has no, is a prime number, I guess. Okay, let me check that. Okay, so this would be square root of 2 square root of 133. Divided by 6. Alright, so those are the values of x. Yan, siguro to facilitate an easier substitution, kung ang calculator nyo nakaka-store naman ng ganitong values, you can store that one, or pwede din i-decimal siguro natin siya. No? Teka lang, ha? Lagay natin yung 10 plus 2 square root of 133 divided by 6, that is 5.51. Lagay ko dito, x sub 1 is 5.51. X sub 2 naman natin would be, this would be 10 minus 2 square root of 133 divided by 6. That would give us negative 2.18. 2.18. So these are actually our x values, no? Ito yung x coordinates ng ating critical points. But since points yung hinahanap sa atin, ang kailangan natin is meron siyang y coordinate. So we need to get what is y sub 1 and ano naman yung y sub 2. So basically, itong mga values na to, tingnan natin ngayon ano yung magiging laman nila, no? Oh, now we go back to our original equation. Okay? Y is equal to x cubed minus 5x squared minus 36x plus 25. Ulitin ko lang ha, when computing the coordinate, yung partner niyang y coordinate, babalik ka dapat sa original equation mo. Hindi mo siya dito isa-substitute kay y prime. Because you're not computing y prime here, you are computing y. Kaya dapat, doon mo siya sa curve na yan i-substitute. Okay? So, if you have a calculator with you, i-type na lang natin siya ng mabilis. So, if you can see my calculator here, we have x cubed, ayan, minus 5x squared, okay, minus 5x squared, close up ko lang mamaya, 36x plus 25, para mabilis, no? Paano ba ito? Ayan. Okay, so what I'm trying to type sa calculator, hindi siguro siya malinaw. Ayan. Tina-type ko to lahat, tapos ika-calc ko na lang siya kasi wala tayong space. Pwede din naman, kung gusto mo kunin yung y, substitute mo lang. 5.51, i-cube mo yon minus 5x, 5 times 5.51 x squared minus 36 times 5.51 plus 25. Let's do it again also for negative 2.18. So 5.51, this would be negative 157.86. So ayan, kala ko kasi makikita natin sa 88 pa lang, makikita natin to sa calculator. I'm sorry. And then, dito naman is, what we have? Kakalculate mo siya ulit, you have negative 2.18. So, you can do that manually naman. 69.36 dapat ang lalabas dyan. So, we have 2 points now. Okay, these are our critical points. One is 5.51, comma, negative 157.88. The other one is negative 2.18, 69.36. Okay? Ito si critical points natin. So, having this known ngayon na ito yung critical points, most likely, ang drawing ng graph natin is hindi ganito. Pabaliktad siya, di ba? Kasi sa left side, teka lang. Ganyan nga, tama pala ganito, no? So, let's say ito is negative 2.18. Ayan, nasa negative side siya. Tapos, di ko nila isulat. Nasa negative side siya ng x. Nasa positive side siya ng y. Tama na? Ito naman, nasa positive side siya ng x. Nasa negative side naman siya ng y. Okay? So, ganito nga ang itsura ng ating graph. Then, let's try to compute naman ang point of inflection natin. Alright. So, erase tayo ng konting portion dito. Siguro dito sa baba. Point of inflection, sa kaka-erase ko lang, nakasulat dito. Inflection point natin is y double prime equal to 0. So, if this is your y prime, you can get your y double prime this time. That would be 6x minus 10. You equate that to 0. So, you have here x or 6x is equal to 10. X therefore is equal to 10 over 6, or that is 5 over 3. Yan. So, what is the value of y if x is 5 over 3? O, substitute mo lang siya dito, no? Sa equation, original equation mo. O, isusulat ko pa ba yun? 5 thirds cube minus 5 thirds squared minus 36 times 5 thirds plus 25. Yun actually yung ginagawa ko dito, no? Pinapakita ko sa calculator. So, ganito lang din yung ginagawa ko doon, no? Hindi siya kasi clear doon sa calculator. And you will get a value of y here. Y is equal to negative 44.26. Yan. So, I hope you are still following. To summarize this one for our inflection point, IP is 5 thirds negative 44.26. That's the coordinate of this point here. Okay. So, ganun lang din, no? Kahit ibang curve yung ibigay sa inyo, first derivative, critical point, second derivative to 0, you will get inflection points. Another application of derivative is in the position, velocity, and acceleration functions of particles. So you have a problem. Two particles have positions at time t given by this equation. First particle, position S1 is equal to t cubed minus t. And second particle, position S2 is equal to 6t squared minus t cubed. We are to find their velocities when they have the same acceleration. What is the velocity? Now, this is what we are looking for. What is V1? What is V2? At A1 is equal to A2. Acceleration 1 is equal to acceleration 2. What would be the velocities? So, you need to remember that when we talk about position or distance, slash distance. Ayan. This is given by the equation S1 equals t cubed minus 3 here, and on the other side, this would be S2 is equal to 6t squared minus 3. You need to recall that the change in distance, okay? The change in distance over the change in time, ano to? What would be this unit? Let's say, for example, I'll write it kilometer per hour. This is a unit of speed, right? So, therefore, ang change in distance over change in time, that is represented by our velocity. Also, the change in velocity over change in time, let's say, halimbawa lang ha, meron tayong kilometer per hour ang velocity over r, that would be kilometer per hour squared. And this type of unit represents our acceleration. So, we can say now that your ds over dt, the change in position over the change in time, is your velocity. And your dv over dt naman is your acceleration. Okay? So, yun lang yung gusto kong i-point out dito. And let me transfer this one. If we have two position functions now, s1 is equal to t cubed minus 3, we can get its velocity. Wherein si v1 mo is ds over dt, ilan yon? 3t squared minus 1. That's the velocity formula niya. A1 mo naman is dv over dt. Okay, that's the first derivative of the velocity or the second derivative of the position. So, looking at this function now, we have 6t. Alright? On the other hand naman, for S2, which is given as 6t squared minus t cubed, this would be, V2 mo naman this time would be 12t minus 3t squared. Okay? Acceleration 2 mo naman is the derivative of this velocity function here. That is 12 minus 6t. Tama na? Okay. Anong sabi ng ating problem? What are the velocities when the acceleration values are the same? So what we need to get is, at what time will their acceleration be the same? So, acceleration ng first particle is 60. Acceleration ng second particle is 12 minus 60. Moving this 60 onto the other side would give you 12t. This would be 12. So, at time is equal to 1, hindi niya sinabi dito ano tong unit na to. It could be 1 second or 1 hour or 1 unit of time. At time equal to 1, accelerations mo daw would be equal. And that's the time also na pinapahanap niya ano exactly ang velocities natin. So, these are your unknowns. Okay, what are the velocities when time is equal to 1? That's when the acceleration is equal to one another na. V1 at t is equal to 1. So, we need to use this V1 value here. V1 is 3t squared minus 1. This could be 1 squared minus 1, and that is how much? V1 is 3 times 1 squared, that's 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 units of velocity. Okay? Whereas V2 naman at t is equal to 1 as well, what is our formula? We have V2 12t minus 3t squared. Substituting 1, that would be 12 times 1 minus 3 times 1 squared. 12 times 1 is 12 minus 3 is equal to 9. Therefore, we have V1, 2 units of velocity, V2, 9 units of velocity. Kung ganito na daw yung velocity, magiging equal ang acceleration, and that will happen at time equal to 1. This would be our final answer.